everybody, it's Andy, the prop chef here at Two Perspective Studio. Today is another Tuesday, Try It Tuesday. If you are watching this part of the video, you're probably watching a replay. If you are, you can hashtag replay so that I know that you're here. You can always ask any questions in the comments section. And hopefully I will see those. Just going to wait a few minutes and see who we have popping on here. If you're coming on here live, you can leave me a comment to let me know that the comments are working. Today's Try It Tuesday is going to be some summertime fun food. I've made hot dogs on here before, but I have yet to make a chili dog. This is actually, and what's better than one chili cheese dog, but two chili cheese dog. I mean, seriously, one for each hand, gotta have it. I know hot dogs aren't good for you, but I am a hot dog person. I love hot dogs, I love bratwurst, I love all that. And chili cheese dogs are pretty yummy in the summertime. I was able to make a pretty decent chili-like meat mixture and a nice sort of a runny cheese, and then I put some little onion pieces on the top there. I am not a big onion girl on my hot dogs, but I just thought the little green onion pieces on there looked kind of pretty as a fake dog, so that's what I did. Actually, I like sauerkraut on my hot dogs. I like anything on my hot dogs. Mustard, spicy mustard. It's got to be spicy mustard. So I'm also working on, I have not come up with a really decent one, but be looking out because I'm going to be doing, hopefully, a video on some very realistic potato salad. Tried a couple of times and I've had a couple of fails, but you know me, I don't give up easily, so I'm sure I'll get it before too long, and hopefully that comes out good. So what I'm going to be using for these yummy chili cheese dogs, and you certainly can't do that with a real one, can you? I think I'm going to put a picture up of myself trying to on the chili cheese dog. Every time I do that on TikTok, I get like 1,000 views, so people like to see me trying to eat something fake. I don't know, it's just a thing, but whatever, people are kind of strange. I used some leftover crust mix that I had to do the meat on these. I don't know if I can get this close enough so that you can actually see that. It's coming in a little blurry now. Come on, focus camera. But it's a pretty decent chili. I may have it a little bit on the dark side. So I may try and lighten it up just a little bit. I actually, hi Jamie and Janice and Stephanie and Stacy. How are you guys doing today? Hope everybody's having a good day wherever you are. I know it has been hot, hot, hot here. Holy cow. The heat index is well into the 90s and it is May. So living here on the surface of the sun, I don't care for it. I like it a little cooler, for real. I like to be able to sit outside and not scorch in the heat. So, but I think it's kind of getting hot everywhere, quicker than normal, I believe. But anyway, I hope it's nice and sunny. It's nice and sunny today, so I hope it's sunny where you are, or you can at least imagine some sunshine. I did not do any prep work for this, which I usually do 43 and raining. That sounds actually refreshing. I would probably be standing out there going, oh. I tried to sit out on my deck yesterday, and oh my gosh, it's like the oppressive heat of July in May. It's crazy. I hope we don't have like one of those extra hot summers. We had that last summer, and it was hard to even go outside. For me anyway. JR likes the heat. He can do anything out there in the heat and he's just fine. And me, I'm just I need to go in a pool. So I did these yesterday just to, I was actually making hot dogs because I'm out of stock on my hot dogs again. And I was going to do them the same way. And then I thought, you know, maybe I should change this up a little bit in the Etsy shop and do something different. So I made the chili. And I'm going to put them in there and see, you know, maybe people won't like them. I have no idea. But I think it's pretty cool. It came out pretty good. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I think I'm going to try and leave them here where you can view them, or if anybody else comes in, they can see what we're making. You know, the luscious chili cheese dog. I know there's going to be, hi Cece, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go, oh, hot dogs aren't good for you. Well, most of the stuff that we eat is not good for us anymore. So I like hot dogs. Hi Susan. Like I said, I didn't do any prep work on this ahead of time, so it's going to be a little bit harder for me to paint these because I normally let them dry completely before I paint them. So like the hot dog buns would be really hard, the hot dogs would be really hard before I painted them. It's just a whole lot easier. So if you're trying this, give it at least a day for the clay to dry before you paint, and you'll have a much easier time with it. So don't do what I do. I say that a lot. Like I said, I usually try and, you know, I'll show you how to make it and then I'll have one prepped waiting in the wings, and I don't have that today, so we're just going to have to do what we do. And now I probably have too much clay. I think I do. Alright, well, we're going to pop some of this back off. So for the hot dog, you can actually, you know, if you want to make a thicker, sort of shorter hot dog, like more like a bratwurst, you can do that. I mean, you can make any shape dog you want, whatever is your favorite or what you're trying to accomplish. For these, I did the bun a little bit more upright than I normally do. I normally do a bun that's tipped to the side, but because this had the chili on it, I did more like the top split Frankfurter kind of bun sort of thing, and I think it looks better. Normally my hot dogs are sort of tilted to the side and they have a swirl of ketchup and mustard on them. So you have a hot dog and chip basket. Hey Jan. So for my hot dogs, I kind of do them more like, I guess they call them bun length. Of course, that's like way bigger than bun length, but I'll roll it like that, and then I'll sort of squat it up a little bit. I just sort of push and make it a little more uniform all the way through. I may have still a little bit too much clay on this. It just depends on how long you want your bun to be. And I mean, you could do like a traditional, the big, long, skinny bun. You could do an actual foot long, which actually JR reminded me of that last night. He said, when are you going to do a foot long? And I thought, you know, I really maybe should do that. I don't know what the heck I would put it in after I did it, unless I bought some of those long paper foot long holder things like they have. And then I could do the foot longs pretty easy. I may try that too. I don't know. People love the hot dogs. They like having, I've had several restaurants, you know, that sell like the bar food and hot dogs and stuff like that, and they'll order these just for decor in their restaurants. So that's pretty cool. But I'm hoping people kind of like these chili dogs too. So that's about the size I normally make it. The Smotto Magic doesn't, this is about 7 inches. I guess probably a normal like a ballpark is probably like 6.5 maybe for the bun length. So mine may be a little bit exaggerated. I don't think so though. I don't know, maybe. I actually have some in the kitchen, but I like those. If anybody's from New York, you probably know Hoffman's brand, with the natural skin casings on them. I love Hoffman's dogs. They're like the Coney Island Red Hot style kind of thing. That's what I like. And they're probably about 7 inches long, maybe a little bit skinnier than the one that I just did here. So like I said, if I'm doing these, I'll make a few and I'll let them sit overnight before I try and paint them. But I'm not going to have that luxury here today, so it's going to be kind of a interesting process to get this painted without messing it up. Yeah, Jan, did you find your husband? Is he hiding? Hi, Jan Drury. 2 Jans on. Go say hi, Jan. Hi, Jan. Usually I do, now instead of the chips, I make French fries to go in the baskets with my burgers and my dogs. People seem to like the fries better than the chips, but today I'm actually going back to the chips, and I'm going to do some ripple chips. I've come up with a interesting way to do that I'm not sure it's the best way, but it's the best way for me, so I'm just going to show you. Oh, he got you some lunch? Isn't that sweet? My husband usually is eating lunch at 10 o'clock in the morning before I ever even think about having breakfast, so. Hey, Cynthia. So I rolled this out. It was about the size of a small baseball ahead of time. It's about 5 3/4 inches by about 2 inches wide. And that's about the size that I normally do it. It's kind of like I shape it into sort of like a little hoagie roll sort of thing like that. And then what I do is if I'm doing a side split, I'll take my scissors and I'll side split it in sort of 2 scissor cuts. For these, I went more of the top split. So what I do is I take my scissor about halfway down the side and I try and get it halfway through the bun, and then I just clip. And then I stick it right there where it ended, and I go to the halfway point on the other side and I do it again. And then I just split it open, just like you were splitting open a real hot dog bun. And from there you can kind of manipulate it, and you still sort of maintained the integrity and the smoothness of the outside of it for the most part. So then I usually take my pinkies, or you could use an end of a paintbrush or whatever you're comfortable with. Because when you split these, you kind of get a natural looking, I don't know if you can see that very well. I really need the light in here. It's sort of a natural looking bread. When the Model Magic rips, it sort of leaves a texture like a natural bread would have in it. So I just press down on this until it's flattered, and then I shape the one side out just a little bit and make that natural hot dog chamber. And using your pinkies kind of works pretty good, and like I said, it doesn't wreck the smoothness, because you know hot dog and hamburger buns have that, you know, real smooth texture on it. What the heck's going on out there? Now, if you want to texture this more, if you feel like you need, and usually I'll measure, and maybe my hot dog is a little bit long, so I might trim a little of this off. And again, I just use the scissors, and I'll take a little piece off of there, and then I'll just reshape that end. Because the ends of the hot dog are a little bit on the flat side. You need to examine your, hey Nicole, you need to examine your dogs before you do this. That's about right. I want just a little bit of overhang, but not a ton. Maybe like a 1/2 inch on either side. If you want a texture, if you want more bread-like texture on the inside of this bun, not that it's really showing, it does on my normal hot dog, so I'll go with an X-Acto knife or the ends of the scissors, and I just sort of scrape the clay, and it makes that cut bread look. Like I said, it doesn't show a whole lot with all the chili and everything in here, but on my normal hot dogs it does. So I did it just 'cause. Now, when I dry these, I usually dry them upside down, just like that, and I make sure before I flip it over that I have enough space for my hot dog to fit in, but it's not going to close up and it's not going to widen the gap, because once it's dry, it's really, you'll crack it if you try and push it back together. So that's how I would leave this overnight, and then I would come back the next day and I would paint them. But for the purposes of this video, we're not doing that. And because I didn't make one in advance, we're just going to have to paint what we have here. And I'm remembering to put my gloves on because I know I'm going to get messy. I'm going to paint the hot dog first. Now, I personally think, as a cooked hot dog color, this burnt sienna, that's a burnt sienna. Lots of companies make it. This is the Hobby Lobby one. Burnt sienna is in and of itself a really good hot dog color, a cooked hot dog color, not the like a pinky, like a boiled hot dog, but like a grilled hot dog would be. And that's what I try and do, is more of the grilled hot dog. If I can get some of this paint. I may be out of this one. I may have to open a new one. Let's see if I can squeeze some out. There it goes. Alright. So that is really the only color that I use for my hot dog. And I use a nice soft brush because you don't want to leave brush strokes on it. And I make sure that I get some water on it first. And I start with the underneath point part, which will be the flatter part of the hot dog. And it's best to, I must have glue on this brush. It's leaving streaks that I just said don't leave streaks. I must have glue on it. So I'll do the underside and then I'll let it sit on the parchment. And then I'll go over the top side. And I try and go, the last ones I do, I make sure that I do very long strokes so that you don't leave a lot of the brush mark. And I think I missed a spot. Now see, trying to paint this when the clay is wet, I actually left an indentation over here from my finger, just moving the hot dog around. That's why I said it's important to let it dry before you try and paint it. But you're not late, Stacy. Hot dog party. When my second set of kids, I have two sets. I have two really old ones. This was for the hot dog. This is burnt sienna. It's more of the grilled color. My oldest is almost 40. Well, I guess she just turned 39. Then I have one that's 35. And then I have 23 and 20. So I have like, there was a lot of room in between there. But when my second set of kids were in school, and I used to suggest hot dog parties with their friends and stuff. People don't eat hot dogs anymore. Unless they're vegan. And I don't know if you've ever, I eat a lot of vegan things. I like vegan butter, I like vegan mayonnaise. Not a lot of vegan things, I guess, but I do like some vegan things, or it's okay, and it's a lot easier on my stomach. But vegan hot dogs, oh my gosh, I don't know what that is, but ugh. Don't do it. I'm kind of old school when it comes to food. I like all the old stuff that used to be good, but I guess it's not so good for you anymore. But I still eat hot dogs. I still eat my Hoffman's hot dogs from New York, and I like it. So for the cut part of the bread, I typically, for these anyway, for Frankfurters, I like a pale yellow. This I'm using is a Naples yellow. It's not as pale as I would like it, so I will water it down. If you water down any paint that you have, the color will get lighter. So I'm using a pointed brush for this, and I put some water on it because I want to water this down. I don't want it to be, and I'm hoping I don't get this all over my hot dog bun. I don't want it to be seriously yellow. I want it to be just that bread color. And hot dog and hamburger buns are a little more yellow, I think, than like white bread. It has more of a yellow hue to it. So I always do my buns in this very light, kind of watered down yellowy color. And whoops. And if you get any on the outside of the clay while it's still wet, you can really wipe it right off with a paper towel or your fingers, and it comes right off of there. So you just want to do that cut part and get that all nice and buttery looking. If you wanted to make it look like a toasted bun and you had more of the bun showing, it's not going to show when you're doing a chili dog like this, but if you're doing a regular hot dog and you wanted that to show toasty, you could put some of the raw sienna on the highlighted parts where it's going to show like you put it through a toaster. So that would work for that. But for this, like I said, you're going to have so much dog and so much chili in there that you're not going to see the inside of the bun, but just a little bit on the sides. So you're not going to see anything but that nice buttery yellow color. So for the outside, I usually go back to the raw sienna. Now, sometimes, and in this case, I think, because I feel like these buns are just a little bit too dark, I'm going to add a little bit of white paint in. I'm just going to lighten this up just a little bit. And if you have I'm gonna find another brush here that doesn't have, maybe this one's all right. I think that one's all right. If you have a hot dog bun laying around, check the coloring on it. Toast one in the oven, see what you come up with. Now I'm going to make this a lot lighter tan, and I like that because I actually do have some hot dog buns in there. I should have brought one in. Now, a lot of people will toast their buns, and some, like the ballpark buns, are darker color like this. The butter buns, which is the ones my husband likes, the top split butter buns, they're a little bit lighter in color, more like this. And that might be a little bit too light. I may have to darken that up. I like the darker ones. I'm going to darken that up. So if you're going to add white to that, don't add so much. Again, don't do what I do. I'm just here to show you some options. You need to do it the right way. Alright, that's better. Now, normally when this is dry, I have it flipped over on its back, and I will paint the underside first, and I'll flip it over, set it on my parchment, and then I'll paint both sides. I don't care too much about the bottom because it's not going to show. Once I get it in my basket or on a plate, whatever I'm going to do with it. And you just want to come right up to where you have that nice cutoff. I'm using a real soft brush. This is a small one, but it's very soft, so it's not leaving those brush marks. So that actually looks pretty good. I may repaint these buns with that lighter color. I might like that a little bit better. And I think I got it all on that side. Maybe I missed something over here. I see it in the camera. All right. So, once you're at this point, you can actually let that dry. You can hit it with a hair dryer. I actually don't have my hair dryer plugged in over here. If I did, I'd hit it with the hair dryer. But we're just going to scoot this forward and let it dry. Hi, Dee. I don't have my right glasses on again. I'm just going to scoot this forward a little bit and let that dry. Now, I have some meat mixture from my crust mix. This is from the dark crust mix. Whenever I have extra, I just sort of crumble it and I let it sit in the bowl and dry. And then whenever I need some, I just go pick it out. You can actually take the larger, like if you have a large clump and you wanted a smaller one, even if it's dry, you can either cut it with a scissor or you can usually just break it with your hands. This stuff is wet. I just made this about an hour ago because I didn't realize that in my chili dogs yesterday I had used up all my extra meat mixture and I didn't have any. So I had to make more. But that's alright because I use it for a lot of different things. I just made sure, like the stuff I used yesterday was pretty small, crumbled. Hot dog chili is, you know, it doesn't have any beans in it. It's not big. So I just want to break this up. And I only have the one hot dog here to do. So I don't even need a ton of it. Just enough to cover my hot dog. So I'm just going to break up some of these larger clumps of this meat mixture. And you actually, if you don't have the crust mix and you want an alternative, you can take little bits of foam, like what do you call it? The squishy foam, or foam sheets. The foam sheets, not the foam core, but foam. You could use, if you happen to have cork, you could use cork pieces. There's a lot of different things that you can use in place of this to get a similar effect. I've gotten so used to using this stuff for a lot of things that's what I use now. It's kind of my go-to. But there are a lot of alternatives. Chopping up a little sponge, putting some brown paint in there and just coating all your sponge pieces, that would work too. So there's, lots of things you can do. I just happen to be using my crust mix stuff. Now, to this, I need to mix up some, yeah, I know all about the sauce, Jan. JR is always telling me it, and it's a sweet sauce in West Virginia. And I've had to find recipes, and I have one now that mimics the sauce for the hot dogs in the place where JR grew up in Gallipolis or whatever it's called, Gallipolis, I don't know how the heck to say it, West Virginia somewhere. But I've been able to mimic his sauce, and he gets happy when I cook the sauce for his hot dogs. Me, I don't care what it is. I like, the thicker the chili, the better for me. This is just the normal crust mix recipe, Stacy. This is just the wet it down with a tiny bit of water, put in your wood glue and your silicone. Like I said, I usually have some of this left over that's just like dry in a bowl. I always have a bowl of it sitting somewhere dry. And whenever I need to use it for something, I just, get the dry little bits out of the bowl. This is just, I just happen to make this because it's what I used. But like I said, you could use little chopped up bits of sponge that are colored brown. You can use cork. You can use foam. Yeah, God. How the heck, I know you can't tell me how to say it because I'm live and you're not. Gallipolis, I think. I don't know. Gallipol, I don't know how to say it. Oh my goodness. But yes, they have sauce on their hot dogs in Gallipolis. And I mean, it wasn't bad. It's just, it's sweet. It's like Cincinnati chili with the cinnamon in it. It's weird. I don't like it. It's not. I like Texas chili. I like it thick. I like it spicy. That's how I like it. Like my man, right? Thick and spicy. I just said that on the live, right? Okay. Anyway, we're talking about hot dogs. To this, I added, you just have to ignore the fact that I just said that. I added some of the funky silicone mixture stuff. Ugh. This is just a 4-ounce cup. I definitely, yes, they put cinnamon in their chili. It's called, what is that place called up there, Jan? You know what I'm talking about. Those restaurants. They actually put it on spaghetti up there in Cincinnati. I can't think of what's that restaurant called, Jan? My daughter lives there and I don't even remember the name of the restaurant. Come on, Jan, help me out. You know it. I'm just going to put a little bit of silicone in here in my cup. That's not probably maybe half an ounce. Not much. Because I'm just doing the one hot dog. If you were doing more than that, you'd have to alter your recipe a little bit. This is just some matte Mod Podge. You can use gloss or matte. It makes no difference in this. Just going to put a little bit in there to thin out that silicone. Oh. What is the name of that restaurant? Skyline, thank you. Holy cow, I knew it like the back of my hand and I couldn't think of it. Skyline chili, big Cincinnati thing. And the chili has cinnamon in it. And they put it over spaghetti. I'm not sure why. It's just a thing. Now, if you mix these two things together, it thins out the silicone quite a bit. And you can mix this really well and get it really smooth, and you can use it for a lot of different things. But we don't need it necessarily smooth because we're making chili. I'm going to use a little bit of a raw umber and a little bit of that burnt sienna, just a little bit. If I can get this to squeeze out of this tube one more time. Come on. was Mediterranean. Something I do love from Cincinnati is Geta. You ever had Geta, Jan? I love that. So I just put a pinch of this raw umber in and a little bit of the burnt sienna. And it's sort of made a chili color. It's got a little bit of that red in there from the chili powder and the paprika, burnt sienna, and then a little bit of the brown just from meat, juices, and everything else that goes in chili. So I'm going to take that little sauce and I'm going to put it on my little tidbits of faux meat here. Yeah, nobody ever knows what Geta is. That's funny. I finally found somebody that knows what Geta is. Geta is a interesting breakfast sausage that they make pretty exclusively. There's the Gleyer's Geta Company in Cincinnati. They have Geta Fest every year right on the river there in between Cincinnati and I guess it's Louisville. And you can get everything Geta at Geta Fest. We usually bring some home and keep it in the freezer every time we go up there. Alright, so there we have some fake chili meat. Now we're going to put our hot dog. Let's see. I don't want to ruin this with my hands. I really should probably dry that before I go picking it up. Let me grab my hair dryer. Hang on. Did everybody see what Cece was making this morning? She made this pretty book because it's Sam's birthday celebration today. So happy birthday, Sam. Green is her favorite color, I believe. So Cece was making her a resin book cover with like 3 rings on it. She's done a few of them and they're absolutely gorgeous. And she put her name on it and it was all cute. So if you missed that, you should go back and watch it. And if you haven't said happy birthday to Sam, let her know that you're thinking of her. Jess was on first thing this morning at 9:30 from Jess's Custom Creations. And she was doing some special stuff too. After me at 3 o'clock is Marie from Great Creations Faux Cupcakes with her amazing sassy daughter Nicole from Nicole's Great Creations. I'm sure they'll have something pretty far out going on. Now the one other thing I do to this hot dog to make it look grilled. Nobody saw that. When you hit yourself in the face with the hairdryer. When you're live. Alright. The one other thing I do to my hot dog to make it look grilled is I use some coffee podge. This is some instant coffee and cinnamon and a little bit of vanilla mixed with some gloss Mod Podge. And I keep this in a little cup on my desk. I use it for a lot of different things. I use it for shading, coloring different things, sealing things that need a little zhuzhin up. There's that word again, zhuzhin. But when you put it on something like a hot dog, actually you can use this on lots of different things using the same technique. Anything you want it to look grilled. Put it on in a fairly thick coat. Then you're going to get the secret ingredient, which is instant coffee. Come on. Hang on, gotta grab that. You can get instant coffee just about anywhere. I think the cheapest is probably Dollar Tree. They carry the Maxwell House. I think they have another one in there too, but you can get it for the $1.25. I usually have a little cup of this that's already smushed. I take the end of my clay roller and I put this in a little cup and I'll beat it with the clay roller until it really gets a fine powder. That's what you want. You want to get rid of those clumps and make it a pretty fine powder when you're doing this. You just want to sprinkle that fine powder over the top of the coffee podge. And then just leave it alone for a couple of minutes and let it do its thing. And you may have to tip it a little to the side, on each side, to get it where you want it. Now, as this coffee melts on here, it's going to give that illusion, you can see on the end of this hot dog, where it looks like it's gone on a grill. You see the sides? It looks like it's been grilled. It's hard to tell on these, and I actually don't have a regular hot dog here. I don't know if you can see the end of that. See, it looks grilled on there. Once that coffee melts, it will look grilled on the hot dog. And it's a pretty cool effect. Now, if you want to go a step further with this, you can take a heat gun instead of a hair dryer. And if you hit it with a heat gun, it'll actually almost cook. It looks like it appears to cook that mixture. If you have any trouble with this looking or feeling sticky after you put the coffee podge on something and like days later it's still sticky, put a heat gun on it. Put it on there until you see the coffee podge start to bubble up. It almost looks like it's cooking sugar or caramelizing something. It's weird how it does it, but it'll actually, like, for a better term, it cooks the stuff on there. You won't have the problem with the sticky anymore. So that's a little extra tip. Now, I did not dry the bottom of this thing, so I'm just going to kind of move it a little bit. Now you see how this hot dog is doing? It's not done doing its thing. But you see how that's working on there? It looks way more grilled now. Now I'm just going to carefully set this down in my bun. I would wait, like I said, wait until everything is dry. I'm going to take my palette knife and give this a little squish over here just to set it in that bun. Definitely have patience when you're doing these projects. Let everything dry in between your steps. Now, I have this nice chili mixture here. And I'm just going to pile right on top of my hot dog. Even though my podge mixture isn't all dry, I'm going to go ahead and put some chili on here. And you put, you know, as much or as little as you want, depending on how much of the other parts of the hot dog you want to show. Or if you're putting mustard on this, put your mustard on, put your chili on. You know, however you want to display this, you have to kind of make it your own. Oops. All right. Now, I got the chili on there. Let me see if I can pick this up now. Got the chili on the dog. The dog is looking grilled. Notice I didn't put the chili all the way to the ends. I kept it like right where the bun is. Now the last thing I did to these that I made yesterday was I put some cheese sauce on it. Totally optional. If you don't want anything on there, you don't have to do that. I thought it looked nice having that little sort of golden cheese sauce on there. I had to look up some pictures because, I mean, when we do cheese dogs at home, it's either we pour like a queso on it or we just sprinkle some shredded cheddar on there. When I looked up the pictures, I saw pictures of both. So if you wanted to take some polymer clay and just shred some polymer clay on the top to have it look like that shredded look, that's totally fine. You definitely see that when you look up pictures. I try and get things halfway accurate to somebody's picture that they have published somewhere, just so that I'm not making something totally weird. I don't need a ton of this. This is the silicone glue that I use sometimes in place of resin. This is by a company called Basic. It is silicone glue. It is clear. You can find that on Amazon and several other websites. It comes in bulk quantities, or you can just buy 1 or 2 bottles depending on how often you're planning on using it. So this, you can color this with food coloring. You can color this with alcohol ink. You can color this with paint. It's a very versatile material. It dries extraordinarily fast. So whatever you're going to do, you got to do it fast. To the cheese sauce, to my silicone glue, I added just a little bit. This is a nice bright cadmium yellow. It's a cadmium yellow medium. Any yellow paint will do. I don't need much. I just put a little bit on the end of my popsicle stick. And to that, I'm going to add a little bit of orange because I just want it to be sort of like that nacho cheese color. So I'm just going to put a little bit over here, just a pinch. And I'm going to mix that in. And mix it until you have just the color that you like. If you want a white sauce, put a little white paint in it, or some ocean white alcohol ink works great in this. So those 2 colors made me just a little nacho sauce. You could make this sauce if you're trying to do nachos with just a little dip with it, or pour this. You could make that meat and put it on nacho chips with some veggie stuff that looks like salsa, and you can pour cheese over it. You can make nachos. You just gave me another thought for next week. So then I just went through and poured my cheese sauce. Now this does not run a lot. It's pretty thick if you've never used it. and it does dry super fast. It tends to be a little on the stringy side sometimes. It's almost like it gets hot glue stringiness, especially when it starts to set up. If you use alcohol ink with this, you have a little bit more time, but not a ton. It's a fast setting product. So there's the cheese sauce. And then I like using freeze-dried chives on things to make it look like green onion. You can use a variety of spices. Freeze-dried chives is one of those that you can use without attracting any bugs. I've used this a lot. And it kind of makes it look like you put just a little bit of green onion on there. So there is your chili cheese dog. Oh, we're dripping. I just said that stuff doesn't drip. Oh, I ran it off on the bun. Alright, there is your chili cheese dog with some little onions on it. You can see the grilled part through the side of the hot dog. It'll keep on doing its thing. I would set this on a rack to dry the rest of the way because the whole thing is wet now. So, let me put these up before I spill them. Does anybody have any questions about this goofy summer project? You could set this up with oh, I didn't do the potato chips. So for these potato chips, you can put these on the side with some ripple chips. That's what I was making here. Let me get rid of these gloves because I have like a couple minutes. I took little bits of clay. I mean, this is a pretty big chip, but it's, you know, it's like what you would get in the bag of ripple chips. I did a couple of them. This one's like a little bit wrinkled. I'll show you how I did that. Now, those are not painted yet, but I'll show you what I'm thinking that I would do for the paint on that. All I did was start to manipulate this, and I'm drawing out from the center to the edges of these little round bits of clay. Then I put it down, and I have a couple of clay. These are actually polymer clay cutting tools. You can get these in the polymer clay section in the craft store. They come in packages. I'm sure Amazon has them too, not just the craft store. But they come in packages with a lot of different patterns of cutters in them. And they're good for cutting things and making rippled edges and stuff, but you can also use them as a press on something if you don't have anything just what you're looking for. And I saw this and I thought right away of a ripple chip. Now on the size that I'm doing like three presses across the chip to make the ripple. And then to make it look like a real chip, I just sort of bunched it up in one or two areas, and then I just put it down and let it dry. Now these are already dry. I mean, that's simple enough, just doing something with a $1.50 pack of polymer clay press things, you know. I mean, pretty simple. A little bit time consuming, I guess, because, and I suppose you could use a couple of round cookie cutters. Even with the scalloped edges, I suppose you could do that too, and just sort of manipulate the edge once it comes out of the cutter. So you could probably do a whole lot of them at the same time, and then just press them all with the little doodad. Or if you have another pattern, something with this pattern on it that you can press on there, something. I used to have a trivet. It was like a silicone trivet for the kitchen table to put stuff on that was hot. And it had this pattern in the back of it, and I can't find it. But anything with that same pattern you could definitely use. Now, I'm thinking for a ripple chip, I got this and I don't know if that's a good color or not. I got this color Parchment. I was trying to find something that mimicked the vanilla ice cream in the craft paint that I can no longer find. I had some suggestions last week on where to find it, and I still can't find it. So I guess they've discontinued, I still have some of that, discontinued the vanilla ice cream in the craft paint. So I'm kind of having to make my own. But I got the Parchment, which is, it's an okay color. It's kind of, I don't know, it's a little flat for me. I still had some of this Naples yellow here that I used before. So I'm going to mix a little of that Naples yellow in with the Parchment. I still don't think it's the vanilla ice cream color, but I think it's a decent chip color. Let's see when we go to put this on a chip. Yeah, that's not bad as a ripple chip. Because ripple chips are a little bit on the yellow side, especially like Ruffles. And the Utz chips are pretty yellow. So I think that's a decent color. All you need is to tint some off-white color, you know, just a little bit with some pale yellow, and I think that's a decent chip color. But I would probably have this chili dog, because I do my other hot dog now with French fries, so I'm probably going to do this one with like ripple chips. I may do it with a potato salad if I can figure that out. Still working on that one. But yeah, I think this is a pretty decent chip color. But definitely wait until your chips are dry to paint them. And you'll probably have to paint both sides, even though the other side probably won't show as much. But I think that's, you know, pretty decent as a ripple chip goes. You could make them look even more authentic. You could break them up in really tiny pieces, and then it would look like what you actually get from the store. But that was not nice. All right, so that's me for the day. Coming up in about 2 minutes, I think, is Marie and Nicole. They are on Marie's page, Great Creations Faux Cupcakes. So don't miss them. I'm sure they will have something wonderful for us today. I will not be here next Tuesday. Hubby and I will be on a little bit of a mini vacation over the holiday weekend, and we will be getting back on Tuesday. So I will see you after that. But until then, if you're not following our mailing list on the PropChef.com, that's thepropchef.com, I'm going to be sending out a coupon Thursday, I believe, or Friday, Thursday or Friday, for my Etsy store for 20% off of all of the PropChef materials that I have in the Etsy store. So if you're interested in getting that coupon, sign up on there and you'll get an automatic email. The sale will be good over Memorial Day weekend, and you can get some PropChef materials for 20% off. That's thepropchef.com. So that's it for me. Join Marie and Nicole, and if you missed anybody else in the Crafting Collective, you can rewind and hashtag and all that jazz and pick up where they started. So until then, have a great holiday weekend, and I will see you guys later. Bye.